Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining in. We'll be starting the presentation in a few seconds. As everyone joins, I just want to mention that the program presentation is being recorded, and the recording will be posted online after this session on our program website. Yeah. Maybe we could start with a round of introductions. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Pulkit. I'm the program lead for the charging infrastructure team at CleanBC. I'm joining in today from the traditional and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations, that is Vancouver. I'll pass it on to Mr. David McKay, who is joining us from the Ministry of Energy and Climate Solutions.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm David McKay. I'm a policy analyst with the ministry, and I'm working on this program with Fraser Basin Council. I'll pass it back to Pulkit.
Thanks, David. I'll pass it on to my team at CleanBC. JM, why don't you introduce yourself and then pass it on to other folks on our team?
Sure. Hi, folks. My name is JM Toriel. I'm also here at the office with Pulkit in Vancouver, and I used to help manage this program, so I'm very familiar with how it works, and it's great to see its evolution here. Happy to assist anyone with questions along the way. So please do fill those out as you have questions, and we'll probably go through those at the very end of the presentation here. I'll pass it on to Michael on our team as well.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Stanier. I am the communications manager for Fraser Basin Council, for which CleanBC is a part of. Glad to see you all here, and yeah, like James says, happy to see the evolution of this program. I'm joining you today from Courtney in Comox Nation territory, and I see that we have Madis joining as well, so maybe we can hear from Madis next.
Thanks, Michael. I'm Madis Araujo, Program Manager for Sustainable Transportation at the Fraser Basin Council, and joining you today from the unceded traditional ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish Nations. Happy to be here with you all. Thank you. I don't know if we are passing it to the ministry at this point.
No, Niall, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you. I think I'm the last one up. Yeah, morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning for this webinar. I'm Niall Murray. I am with the Fraser Basin Council. I am a program administrator for the Sustainable Transportation team, and I'll pass it back to Pulkit.
Thanks, Niall. Thanks, everyone, for introducing yourselves. I'll give you a quick gist about CleanBC, of what the organization is all about. So it's a program of the Fraser Basin Council, which is a nonprofit organization. It provides information and support around plug-in vehicles and charging infrastructure throughout the province of British Columbia. So today's webinar is being hosted to provide information about the CleanBC Go Electric Public Charger Program and the application process for the current review round. The application submission deadline for the current review round is the 20th of June, 2025. So this would be the agenda for the webinar today. We'll be going over the program overview first, followed by the rebates that are offered under this program. And then we'll delve into details about the application process. And finally, we'll be covering the revised program requirements. At the end of the presentation, we'll be opening the room for the question and answer session. You can type in the questions as and when you have them in the question and answer box, and our team here will answer those as we go. So to provide you a brief summary about the program, the CleanBC Go Electric Public Charger Program is a competitive rebate program which incentivizes the purchase and installation of DCFCs and level 2s across BC. It prioritizes on filling in geographic gaps in rural, northern, Indigenous communities and areas with high density, for example, urban centers. For more information on geographic gaps, you could refer to a resource that is available on the program website. It's called the British Columbia Public Light Duty Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Study. You can download this from our program website, like I mentioned. So this program is funded by the Ministry of Energy and Climate Solutions and is administered by Fraser Basin Council Society, that is CleanBC. Like I mentioned on the previous slide, the program incentivizes level 3 or DCFCs, that is direct current fast chargers, and level 2 chargers for the public. One important point that I want to mention about this program is that both the installation site and the equipment should be open to the public 24/7, 365 days a year. You cannot restrict the use of these chargers for your own development. Now, so these are the rebate amounts that are offered under this program. They're based on the power output of the charging port. Fast chargers with multiple ports that can charge multiple vehicles simultaneously are eligible for rebates based on the maximum simultaneous output level of the operating connectors. I'll give you an example here for better clarity. Let's say you plan on installing a dual port DCFC with a maximum output of 200 kilowatts when a single vehicle is connected, and it is capable of charging simultaneously two vehicles to at least 100 kilowatts each when each of the ports are connected into one vehicle, into like two different vehicles. In that case, you'd be eligible for rebates per port, that is $80,000 per port. Since there are 2 ports, it would be $160,000 for the DCFC. However, if it was not capable of charging simultaneously and the output was just 200 kilowatts, in that case, you'd be only eligible for $80,000 for that complete DCFC. Now, you can see that there are increased rebate amounts that are available for Indigenous communities as well. As you can see, the maximum rebate amount that you can get for non-Indigenous communities is $80,000 for chargers with an output of 100 kilowatts or higher. The maximum that you can get for the same output level for Indigenous communities is $130,000. So to provide you some more information about the Indigenous community rebate, the program defines Indigenous community as a First Nations band government or its wholly owned subsidiary, for example, a development corporation. To receive Indigenous community rebate, the Indigenous community must own the equipment. A third party that owns and installs equipment on Indigenous lands is not eligible for enhanced rebates. There are also rebates available for level 2 EV charging. A maximum of 2 level 2 EV chargers will be funded when they are installed alongside fast chargers. Next is tandem installations. I'll first define what tandem installation requirement is as per the program guide. So to improve redundancy, at least 2 independent charging stations must be installed if your proposed site is more than 500 meters from the nearest existing public charging stations. It could be either a level 2 charger or a DCFC. These tandem installations could be, more than one DCFCs together, or a DCFC along with a level 2 station, or even 2 level 2 stations on, wherever they are eligible. And I'll be delving down into details about the level 2 only locations in the subsequent slides of the presentation. To improve redundancy, a multi-port station on its own is not considered a tandem installation. I also want to mention that tandem installation actually affects the amount of rebates that you would be eligible for, especially for non-Indigenous communities. So for non-Indigenous communities, the percentage cap actually increases from 50% to a 75% if the project involves more than 1 charging stations installed at the same charging site. While the combined dollar cap will remain the same, the combined dollar caps were actually presented to you on the previous slide. So these are the combined dollar caps that you see. So yeah, the percentage cap remains the same at 90% for Indigenous communities. It's only for the non-Indigenous communities that the percentage cap increases. I'll give you an example here for better clarity. So let's say you install 2 50 kilowatt DCFCs. In that case, you would be eligible for 2 into $50,000 well, that would be $100,000 for the complete installation, or up to a 75% of the project cost, whichever is less. If you just plan on installing one DCFC instead, with an output of 50 kilowatts, it would have been $50,000 or up to 50% of the project cost. So you can see how the percentage cap increased in case you install more than one DCFCs.
Next is level 2 only projects. So this program is intended to primarily support public fast charging. However, in some cases, projects with only level 2 stations are eligible as well. Now I'll be going over certain important requirements for level 2 only locations. First, no public level 2 stations without co-location with DCFCs are eligible in Metro Vancouver or Capital Regional District, except for when the chargers are approved as a part of a pilot project, or when the stations are owned by an Indigenous community, or when the project is in any of the Gulf Islands with one or fewer public charging stations. A list of prioritized regional districts for level 2 only locations can be found under section 3.2.1 of the program guide.
Now, who can apply? To be eligible for rebates, the applicant must be a business, not-for-profit, local government, Indigenous community, utility, or select public sector organization located and operating in British Columbia, excluding core government entities, that is provincial ministries, but including non-core entities, example, utilities, health authorities, school districts, universities, crown corporations, etc. The next, applicant eligibility requirement is that you need to be, you have to be a current site owner or have an approval in writing from site owner to install charging infrastructure for a minimum of 10-year period. I would like to mention that for comprehensive information on eligibility requirements, please refer to the program guide, because as a part of this presentation, we'll be only going over the most important components of this program. Next is application process. To summarize, the program is delivered through funding rounds that occur multiple times per year. The current application intake ends on June 20th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Applicants must submit completed application via the online form prior to the application deadline. This program uses a competitive process to evaluate and approve projects for funding. Not everyone who participates is approved for funding. That's a very important point there. Next is successful applicants will receive a pre-approval and must enter into a funding agreement with Fraser Basin Council within 60 days from the date of notice of pre-approval. Costs incurred prior to pre-approval are not eligible for a reimbursement through this program, and rebates will not be provided to any applicant that fails to enter into a funding agreement in the required time frame. Next is application review process. So applications are screened after the application deadline date once we have collected all the applications. The applications are screened for eligibility criteria mentioned under section 2 of the program guide, and then evaluated based on the preferences listed under section 4 of the program guide. So I'll be going into details about the program preference criteria as well. So eligible projects are evaluated based on how well they align with the preferences outlined in section 4 of the program guide. Applications that demonstrate how they meet the criteria outlined in this section will score better. This slide shows few important points, like I mentioned. One of the first is filling in existing DCFC network gaps in the province. Second one is, your stations are co-located with primary amenities and secondary amenities. The EV chargers are co-located with one or more additional DCFCs. And there's also a new preference criteria that has been added in this round, that is to have a track record of owning and operating existing chargers in BC, and that you can demonstrate historical charging site uptime performance of 97% or higher over a period of at least 6 months for all the chargers, I'll be delving into details about the uptime requirement in the subsequent sections of the slides as well. So this is the list of documents that you would be submitting as a part of your pre-approval application. The first one is the name of the organization along with legal documentation and the main contact. Second is the project address. Third is the description of the location where you'd be putting in these chargers, site design, nearby amenities, and notable features of the proposed charging site. Fourth is written permission to use the site if the organization is not the site owner. Proposed number, output, and model of EV chargers. Sixth is budget quotation. Seventh is operations and maintenance plan. And the eighth is a financial plan or an operations or maintenance calculator. There are also optional documents that you can submit as a part of your application. The first one is site design. We'd recommend you, it's highly recommended that you submit a site design. You'd get additional points for it. EV charging specification sheet and a backup location address. Now we'll be delving into details of some documents that need to be submitted as a part of your pre-approval application. Site design is one of the recommended documentations that you could submit as a part of your application. It provides us a better idea about the location of the EV chargers on the proposed site. You can also demarcate the location of the electrical room and other electrical infrastructure available on the site. You can also demarcate the location of, if there are any primary or secondary amenities that are available on your charging site. Another important aspect of the charging of the site design is to roughly depict that the site is accessible 24/7 all around the year. For site design support, you should refer to the EV fast charging design and operational guidelines for public DCFC stations by BC Hydro. Again, this particular resource is available on our program website, so you can go to the program website and download it. Next is the operations and maintenance calculator or a financial plan. A financial plan is a required piece of a complete application for this program. We have provided an operations and maintenance calculator template that serves as a template for the financial plan. The operations and maintenance calculator provides you with a better idea of the operations and maintenance costs associated with EV charging stations that you'd be installing. A financial plan should account for many of the major costs, including, but not limited to, the electricity costs, including energy and demand charges, service stability measures, including maintenance, repair, servicing, insurance, etc., and also network fees. A revised operations and maintenance operations and maintenance calculator template is now available on the program website. So updates include BC Hydro and Fortis BC rates as of April 1st, 2025. The second update is we've also included the BC LCFS, that is the BC Low Carbon Fuel Standard credit revenue estimates. Note that you will need to enter your own assumptions for the credit value in the operations and maintenance calculator. The third update or change is the maximum site power draw. So this allows you to set the maximum site power draw if battery storage is used to reduce total site power. This impacts the demand charges. The fourth update is you can actually set the average port power output now. In previous versions of the calculator, it defaulted to an average port power of 100%. The reality is that the actual output of the charger will vary due to several factors, including the state of charge of the battery size, temperature, etc. So the default value is now 50%, though applicants can change this based on their own data or preferences. This will actually impact, the estimated demand charges that you would be paying as a part of your operations and maintenance costs. And finally, I want to mention that the operations and maintenance calculator is intended to be a helpful tool to provide generalized estimates only. The actual costs and revenues realized for your project may vary significantly from what this tool estimates. The data and the formulas used in this calculator are not logged anymore, so you can also look at how, what's the background data and how and the formulas work. Next is project cost estimates and quotation requirements. As a part of your application, you would be uploading project cost estimates or quotations of your proposed project. This would include costs associated with purchase and installation of EV chargers. I want to mention that we use the cost estimates that you provide as a part of your application to calculate the rebate amount that would be set aside if the project is approved for rebates. The budget should be as itemized as possible. This is because only eligible costs would be counted as a part, when we are calculating the rebate amount. Some costs eligible for rebate include the DCFC or level 2 equipment, installation costs including labor and material, which includes earthwork, paving of 1 parking space per charger, and curb or protective bollards around chargers, and others are some examples of eligible project costs. For a complete list of eligible costs, you could refer to section 2.4 of the program guide. Now, I want to share some important points about the pre-approval application. So the first one is you have to submit 1 application per project. That is, you need to submit a separate application for each site that you're applying for. The second is the rebates may be capped at 10 applications per organization to reserve funds for other organizations. The province reserves the right to limit the number of EV chargers funded per project. And the last one is the applicant will be responsible for the ongoing operations and maintenance costs associated with the chargers that you'd be installing. This is because the rebate program only covers the capital costs of the project. Therefore, you're required to prepare an operations and maintenance plan and a financial plan for your chargers. Next is participant journey. So now I'll be summarizing the steps an applicant goes through while applying or participating in the CleanBC Go Electric Public Charger Program. The first step is to look at the eligibility requirements. You can reach out to us through email if you have any questions about the eligibility requirements. Further, the recording of this webinar, like I mentioned earlier, will also be posted online after the webinar, so you can revisit it and then send us questions if you have any. The next step is to apply for pre-approval. This would involve submitting an application for pre-approval before the deadline date, that is the 20th of June, 2025. All applications that are received during this review round will be reviewed after the deadline date once we have all the applications in. Once the review is complete, we will be reaching out to applicants with their results. A funding agreement will be signed between the successful applicant and Fraser Basin Council. This funding agreement will include the rebate amount that is calculated based on the information that you'll be submitting as a part of your application. After the funding agreement is signed, the applicant gets 18 months to complete the project. After completing the project, the applicant will be submitting the final documentation to us, and after this, the funding will be disbursed. So a new requirement has been added in this funding round. It's called the uptime reporting. It's after you receive the rebates. So uptime data must be submitted to Fraser Basin Council in a report after all applicable EV chargers are in operations for 6 months from the date those have become operational. This report must be submitted within 90 days of the date that the chargers have been operational for 6 months. Not adhering to the uptime requirement will impact your participation in the future funding rounds. Now, I want to go over some details of the new uptime requirements. So the EV chargers funded under the CleanBC Go Electric Public Charger Program on or after April 1, 2025 will have to submit a station uptime report 6 months after the project is complete or the stations are operational. How do we actually define site uptime? So the percentage of time that a charging site is available, excluding reasons outside the control of the operator, is site uptime. Note that this is only for DCFC projects. Next is you have to maintain a charging site uptime of 97% or higher for charging sites made up of stations funded by this program. In rural and remote communities with population of less than equal to 10,000, uptime exceptions may be considered on a case-by-case basis due to limited repair and service access. For comprehensive information on this new on the new requirement, please refer to section 6 of the program guide. Now, I've already covered this in the previous slide on the participant journey slide. So you need to submit certain final documentation to prove site uptime when your project is complete, 6 months after your project is complete. So you can get this information under section 2.5 of the program guide. Other revised program requirements. So the first change has been made under section 2.3 of the program guide under equipment requirements. Compared to the previous guide, we are not funding CHAdeMO ports anymore. There are no minimum number of connector requirements starting this review round. The new requirements that have been added for DCFCs and level 2s is that you can have either NACs, that is NACS, or the CCS connector types for the DCFCs. And for level 2s, again, you can have the NACS or the J1772 connector types. Also, another thing that has been added under section 2.3 is all EV charging equipment must be purchased from a supplier in Canada. The next update has been made under section 2.1 of the program guide under applicant eligibility. So a charging site located at a car dealership is only eligible for program if the proposed charging site is located in a municipality with no existing public DCFCs at the time of application, or located in an unincorporated community and at least 15 kilometers from the nearest public DCFCs at the time of application. The next update has been made under section 5 of the program guide, that is interaction with other programs in the market. So there has been a change in the stacking limit from 100% of the total project cost to 90% in case of local governments and indigenous governments applying to other government funding programs. Again, I want to mention that you can still, there's no stacking available with the NRCan ZEVIP and other CleanBC programs. But if there are other programs, please mention that in your application, and please also mention the amount that you're getting from those. It's a requirement that you have to, mention the amount that you're getting if you're participating in some other program and the amount that you're getting from them. If you do not disclose that, it may lead to a disqualification from the CleanBC Go Electric Public Charger Program. Well, that's the end of the presentation. Thank you everyone for listening in. If you have any questions, we'd be opening the room for question and answers now. You can also send us questions at our email ID, that is publiccharger@pluginbc.ca, and this is the URL for our website on on the screen. Now we'll also be stopping